Hello everyone, it's Sarah, it's Painted Creator, and it's the most beautiful spring morning here in the UK, so I hope you're having a nice time. Just going to give my paints a little spritz to wake up. Got my paintbrushes, some fresh water, I always leave it set up. And I've got my mop brushes, my medium mop brushes I use an awful lot, and I use mainly use these Cotman Windsor watercolour sets as well. So I wonder what we're going to paint today. I always start with a bit of a blank page and have a think about what we might want to paint and get some inspiration off things that people send me. So if you are inspired to send me things, that would be really nice. So I think today I'm going to just have a little play with some of this foresty theme, but we'll see. Let's start. Maybe not, maybe we'll do a bit of a landscape, we'll see. So a little bit of yellow ochre. I'm just working on some 7x5 block today. It's an Academy watercolour paper from Bahong. Nice paper. So just a little bit of yellow on the page. Yellow ochre. I think I'm just going to drop in a little bit of Paynes Grey into that mix. Straight. Oh gosh, that's a lot of Paynes Grey. Never mind, it'll work. A little bit of Paynes Grey. I'm just going to lift using a damp brush and watercolour paper. I'm just going to lift some of that dark edge off. Wash your brush, just lift it away. Oh, there's a hair. Always take the hairs out whilst you can while it's wet. Quite like that. Quite like that granulation that's coming. So guess what? We're going to just leave that one to dry. So I'm working on a block, which means it's glued all the way down, which is why I don't need to tape it to my board. It's loose on my board. It's a good way of doing these little bits. So I'm just going to run a little bit of a yellow ochre distant hill. As always, these are from my imagination. Well, it's not as always. Sometimes I work from a painting or a photo. This one's from my imagination. Just going to use some water, soften that bottom edge off, and then drop in a little bit of this Paynes Grey onto the edge while it's still damp. Trying to remember because I'd woken them up, they're picking up nicely. Look at that granulation, beautiful granulation. And this is the process that I adore in watercolour. Just letting it do its thing. I'm going to add a few sort of trees and bushes onto here. Just to ground it a little bit. Letting the trees go out a little bit distant on the side. So if you put in something that's a highlight in, just make sure you're not smack bang it in the middle of anything. Just going to lift that a little bit and soften that edge off. So top right third, bottom left third is a little bit, so I'm just going to let that one dry as well. So here we are, we're back. As you can see from when it dries around about 30% darker, so you need to remember that when you're putting your washes on. So I'm going to put a bit more of a concentrated wash of the yellow ochre. Straight from the palette. It's because the mop brush holds so much nice amount of pigment. So again, I can wash my brush and just use a little bit of water to soften that bottom edge off where I want it. Lift away anything you don't want it to be there. And then I'm going to just put a few bushes using my Paynes Grey into this area. Just letting your brush do a little bit of a dance across. Remember, it'll dry lighter. So I do want a little bit more pigment in certain bits because it will dry lighter. So that bit that I've just put on is going wet on dry. Just disturb that shape more tree-like or bush-like or whatever they are. Drop a bit more pigment into there. Okay, another excuse to let it dry. So here we are, we're back dry. I'm just going to check that we are in focus. Yes, we are. So we're back dry, and you can see that this layer that I put on was more pigmented, so it's coming further forward. And another way of bringing things forward, as well as putting more paint, more pigment into your mix, is to put some more warmth into your mix. So this time I'm going to mix up yellow ochre. So here's my yellow ochre straight from my palette with a touch of Alizarin Crimson in. just to warm it up a little bit. I need a little bit thicker in consistency, so more yellow ochre. More Alizarin Crimson. Touch more yellow ochre. So it's a bit more sort of milky creamy rather than tea. It doesn't move along my palette too much, but it's a warmer colour, and so I can drop in a warmer sense of some foreground bushes. With this one. I'm still going to use that Paynes Grey to drop in a little bit of a dark. Let the brush, just going to let that run down a little bit. Just clean water. Oh, sorry, my cat's climbing. My blind cat is climbing. I'm just going to drop a bit more of that colour onto here. And then sort of snuggled in that foreground, I might just get my rigger brush. So my zero rigger brush. Give it a wet. Pick up some of my Paynes Grey. And touch it on the paper towel, I don't want too much. So this is just Paynes Grey going into this damp wash, which is beautiful. Dry on the top where the building's going to be. Remember, it's out of my imagination, so nobody can say it's right or wrong. I'm just going to extend this spire a little bit on this side, gradually building it up. And the same on this side, just pushing it with the water that's in my rigger brush. And there, I think I'm just going to put some, and pick up this Paynes Grey. We're just going to tap in while it's damp some of the building. So just water on my brush. I'm just encouraging it to flow and run back a little bit. Right on the top, I'm just going to pop across on that church. just darkening this wash now, dropping a bit more Paynes Grey into there. Just going to darken that spire. I have to remember to breathe at this point. It's still damp, it will still flow. There we go, quite like that. Straighten this up a little bit here. There we go. So I'm just going to lift off a little bit of the paint that's here. So I've just put some water in there. I'm just going to lift it off with a damp brush now. A little bit of water. Sorry, I've just realised I moved that. Just dabble it in, let it run. And it'll just splay out a little bit and just make that less of a block of colour. There we go. Nice little transition. So let's just grab my mop brush again. You see this has got quite a run back. I'm just going to add a little bit more of that base colour across there. There's a bit of a glaze. Wet the bottom. Just mop it up a little bit and let it dry. So I'm not so sure about this transition into this orange, so I'm just going to put a little bit more yellow ochre as a glaze over the top, just to help the sense of transition. And again, I'm just going to let that dry. That's a better, needed that. So here we are, that looks a little bit better. I still want a little bit of a yellow ochre feel. I'm just putting a bit more yellow ochre into that mix. So I've just run that sort of yellow ochre with a little Alizarin Crimson mix in. I'm just going to darken this side just to draw the eye across. A little bit more Paynes Grey. Paynes Grey is quite a useful colour, really. Quite like how that's run down. It looks good like that. I might just drop a little bit of Alizarin Crimson into that mix. See what we've got here above. That's my hobby and my cat. So I'm just dropping a little bit of Alizarin Crimson into this mix while it's wet. Oh, Mally Moo. Sorry about my cat, folks, but I'm sure you've got your own fur babies. I'm just going to drop a bit more yellow ochre into there, let it mix on the paper, let it do its thing. Some clean water, let it run away, dab it up. It's quite coming on quite nicely, it's building those layers forward nicely. We've got more rich colours coming in. I think I might just put one more on the front, so time to just let that dry again. There we go. So there we are, we've got that nice little hint of red coming through. So I'm going to go for another layer of yellow ochre on the front. Popping up some tree bits and bushes. I'm just going to drop in some of that Alizarin Crimson again. I quite liked that. That worked quite nicely. There's a nice warm foregroundy colour. Let it do its thing. I'm just going to fade away. Just like we've faded in at the top, we're going to fade away at the bottom. And a little bit more Paynes Grey. Just tap, 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 tapping. I'm just going to get some more concentrated Paynes Grey on certain bits. And it's really important to just let it do its thing. It's not a painting where you're going to try and control too much. You're just going to let it do its thing. Just going to fade this side out, so a bit more water into the mix. And maybe a little bit of water just going through there. I'm just going to add a little touch of raw umber into here as well, just to bring this sort of yellowy browny colour a little bit more forward. I'm liking that Alizarin Crimson in there, so I'm just going to add a little bit more up here. It's very watery, so it will fade back. Just want to disturb that a little bit. Pick up this puddle because otherwise it's going to go back into a big cauliflower. And sit for a while and watch paint dry, which is really, really good. And then I think we're not far off calling that a day. And hopefully you've seen how you can build forward one of those sort of imaginary mountain-y sort of paintings without it just being layers of mountains, because sometimes they're a bit boring, and having a little bit of fun with watching quite a limited palette, because I've just used Paynes Grey, yellow ochre, Alizarin Crimson, then a touch of raw umber in this foreground, but that was quite good fun. So just whilst that's drying, I'm just going to pick up a little touch of Paynes Grey on the rigger brush. Just touch it onto my paper towel, make sure it's right. I'm just going to put one of my little signature birds in the sky. That first one was a bit of a blob. Let me just lift that off. I'll try again. I didn't have enough water on my brush at first. So there we go, it'll be better this time. My little seagulls. There we go. So I will, if you've liked this video, can you please like and subscribe and share it with your friends and comment and all the other bits. I forget all about that. I'm just going to dry this off with the hairdryer now, and then I'll be back with you. So there we are. We've done a nice little painting, and it's actually the 1st of April today, so I hope nobody's done any April Fools on you. This isn't an April Fool. I hope you've had fun, and I hope you'll give it a go. Catch up with you soon. Just loving some of this, where the water's pushed back. Maybe I'll try and pick it up so you can have a see. Let me see if it works. Look at that. Just little bits of watercolour that I really, really do like. And it's the process. So lean into the process, have fun, friends, rest well. See you soon. Bye bye.